What is up, Mercedes? Javier Mercedes here for yet again another video, and today we are going to be taking a tour of Word Assist Studios.
A lot of what I specialize in is drum production, drum editing, drum cleanup, getting the drums to mix and having them sound as awesome as possible. It's really kind of how I got my start. I've kind of gotten a reputation for being a perfectionist with edits, trying to make my mixes sound as good as I can. So editing drums, editing vocals, preparing stuff for mixing, just jumping back and forth between 4 or 5 different projects at a time, usually trying to turn around songs for people on all edges of the country, as well as get bands in here who I think are cool, help take them to the next level.
The main genre of music that you edit?
Started in death metal for sure, and that's kind of been my passion. My goal in life is to make heavy, aggressive music sound as listenable as possible.
If you want to learn more about the background of what he does, we're going to be recording a podcast here in a couple minutes. I just wanted to do a tour of his studio. Where do you want to start?
Some of my first gigs would be flying down to track and edit or produce a vocalist. Getting a distressor and a nice preamp like an API or the Focusrite was definitely one of the first things I had going. Once I started mixing bands, I found referencing other mixes to be really the only way for me to feel confident in what I was doing. Getting some sort of monitor control setup, even though it's really boring sounding and it costs way too much money for what it is.
As is most things with gear.
Like these buttons, they do look cool. I'll give you that, and it really adds to the whole spaceship vibe. But being able to flip between different reference mixes and have it not pop, I just wanted the cleanest signal possible. I have a nice USB converter that I can pop out of the rack and take it with me. It's 32 channels in and out, so I can do a full drum session. I can pop it into my bag, plug it into my laptop, and be good to go.
Not to mention 32 tracks of XLR going into your laptop. That's like a lot of wire, but yeah.
It's all GB25 though, so I can just have these snakes and show up with a bunch of
see, that's the particulars.
Right.
Cool.
Doing these kind of remote sessions where you like fly out to do a vocal thing is the night before, take everything out of the rack, set it up as if I'm there in the studio with the guy, and make sure that everything works, like line check everything, all that kind of boring stuff. That's just part of being an OCD audio engineer. Almost all the vocals that I've been trying in the last couple of years, I've been using this Slate virtual mic system, which is a preamp and a mic. It's supposed to be like a super clean linear mic and preamp combo. They have software emulations of different mics. It's like going back to 2001, Antares had some sort of mic emulation stuff that didn't work very well, so everyone was very skeptical when this thing came out, but I got real excited because that's right up my alley. Like, oh, I can get 10 mics for the price of half of one. I'll go for that. See, if somebody brings in like a Telefunken $2,000 tube mic, I'm gonna put it up against that and see which one sounds better. And I've had the Telefunken fancy tube mic win, but for me, that kind of solves a problem of being able to get a lot of different flavors for different vocalists, not wanting to put 10 mics on my credit card and then shoot them out every time I have a major project that I want to get the perfect vocal sound. So
when you first moved in here, did you have that video set up? And how was it interacting with your artists to begin with?
I put it up pretty quickly. Going back to reading interviews of artists that I really admire, a lot of them would have some sort of sci-fi movie playing or whatever kind of vibe that they're trying to create for the music that they're working on. So I really wanted to have a big screen. If I'm renting a house, I wasn't going to be able to cut out a window, nor was I prepared to cover the cost of that. Once my friend Jason Sukoff told me, just like, oh, you just get some $50 cameras off Amazon and this SDI to HDMI box, go to Walmart, get a cheap, $400 TV, and I'm off to the races.
Olé!
Honestly, I feel like if I couldn't see the drummer, I would almost prefer to be in the room with headphones on. Before I had a drum room, I would take all my stuff and like rent out a cabin for the weekend up in the mountains, record drums there. I'd be on earbuds with construction headphones over that, trying to like figure out how to EQ these drums.
Which while you're listening to them live,
right?
That's so hard to do.
Which comes back to the whole referencing thing. It's like you record something in a completely unfamiliar environment with somebody else's kit, and you're on a short time span. You know, you have like a day and a half to record these drums. Having some kind of reference for you to be like, okay, that's what a tom should sound like. That's what a tom mic should sound like. Mm-hmm. And here's what mine sounds like. That's infinitely useful, because usually you can fix a problem or at least identify if there is a problem. If you otherwise you're just kind of stabbing in the dark. Took like 5 rounds of snare since and broke a stick or 2, but I think I finally got some decent sounding snare rim shots there. From the time that I started doing audio engineering stuff, that's really been what I wanted to be good at, is to be able to put up 20 mics or whatever and record live drummers and have it sound amazing. I want that feeling of the drummer just being able to walk in and sit down at the kit, play, walk into the control room, and have it sound as much like a finished record as I can. With metal stuff, I quickly learned it is way easier to get a good drum sound if you can isolate the kick somehow. People have been putting blankets over kicks and stuffing them with pillows and making tunnels and all that kind of stuff for years. For the more complicated stuff, especially when you have a drummer who doesn't have perfect feet, I like to use one of these Roland kick pads, which completely deadens the sound. And it's also great practice too, because like I'm not a drummer or anything, but you can sit around here and just... But the volume of that compared to like an actual kick...
And it sounds better than an acoustic kick?
Well, no, it doesn't. It's all it does is make a little click, and then you trigger it from whatever module or plugin. You could even say just like, hey, don't even play the kick for this part. Just, and then draw in kicks later, because this doesn't end up really appearing in the room mics. I have several acoustic kicks. There's nothing like a 26-inch kick drum banging right in front of a room mic to get that Bonham vibe for you. But getting drum productions done quickly and cleanly and still being able to use the natural drum without having to replace stuff with samples, it's kind of like an exponentially fewer edits that you have to make, because you're just disregarding the kicks, and you're like, your cymbals aren't getting chopped up every 4 times. If he's doing like 4 kick hits on every crash hit, it's like
that's awesome.
Do you ever have trouble convincing drummers to use that versus an acoustic?
Like, I'm not a real drummer, but I understand some of where they're coming from. Having gone back and forth and playing on a real kick and playing on this thing, they feel completely different. And there is something to, if you're playing fast stuff and you're trying to get your right hand synced with your right foot, for example, it's a different thing. So usually what I tell people is just play on it for a little while. You're gonna hate it at first. But once you can hear, the other thing is when you're triggering something, you get that lack of dynamics, so you hear every kick hit exactly where it happens. So the drummer actually gets a much more detailed view of what their performance is, rather than just kind of going in there and being like, oh man, I kind of fluffed that kick part, didn't I? It's a touchy subject for some people, and I don't push too hard. If somebody's just like, hell no, I'm not doing that, then I'm not gonna push. But it makes things easier, and usually if you kind of explain it to them and demonstrate what's going on, and explain to them that it's not cheating, and yes, we can still do drum playthrough videos with a real kick and all that kind of stuff. It's like, well, what if they see me on social media with a fake kick? What are people gonna say? It's like, if that's your main worry, I think we can figure it out. We can figure out a solution to this problem.
The wizardry of audio engineering for metal drums. Death metal. Love it.
Yeah.
Love it, man. Where can people find you?
You can find me at johndouglas.net. You find me on Instagram at johnddouglas.
Well, thank you so much, man. This has been awesome. I'm sure in comments, and like, what mics is he using and all that stuff? Hey, guess what? It's a short video, or I guess like a little bit of a short video. But you can check out the podcast. Well, I'm sure we'll be talking about all that kind of stuff. You guys want to check me out? I'm at Javier Mercedes X on all the social things. And until next time, live that life of abundance. See you guys on the next video. Just bang!
Can I just explain? When you have to describe
audio sound effects without playing them. It takes a whole nother talent.
And then when you're communicating with drummers over the talkback, that's a whole nother thing. It's like, what syllable do you use for snare and what syllable? No, do ka, tss, do ka. Tss.
Yeah, as in like playing back stuff. That's great.